Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Say hi. Let me know if you're here and say good morning. It's a new time. I'm trying it out. Instead of 8:30 at night when I am tired and done for the day. Let's see what happens Friday mornings. Good morning. We didn't even warn anybody, so I apologize. Stop in, say hi. Hey, Brandy. I am a morning person, and so I prefer mornings instead of evenings. Uh, you have to go to school. Um, I I'll get to the point this morning as well so that everybody can listen in. But we'll see how these go. I suppose I could start at 7 a.m., but then you've got kiddos to get ready. So, good morning. Okay, I'm going to get started. For those of you that are maybe just listening for the first time and just catching this, I am Mary Jo Irmen, the author of Farming Without the Bank and the new book, Life Without the Bank. That title is a lot easier to read, isn't it? Both of those books talk about the infinite banking concept, and I am a certified practitioner for the infinite banking concept. So every week, what I do is come on Facebook, do a live, and talk about who I had for meetings, what we talked about, and all that good stuff. Just giving you guys an idea of, who else is out there in the farming world or even the business world, because I meet with a lot of business owners too. What are they doing? How are they doing it? And just ideas. So, hey, Brooklyn. So this week, let's get started. Oh my gosh, okay, hold on. I shut my notes. My computer was running super slow. So, let me get there. I put my turtleneck on this morning and thought, it's April. I shouldn't need a sweater. But it's kind of chilly today. It was supposed to be nice. Or it was so nice that we got spoiled and I was back into short sleeves. Okay, the first clients that I had last week it was pretty awesome. It was a family operation. Both kids were on the operation with dad. Everybody had their thing that they did. So they had grass-fed beef. One child did the grass-fed beef. The daughter kind of floated wherever anybody needed her. Dad did the management of the farm side of things. And it was great because that's how it should be. Not everybody needs to be the cook in the kitchen, right? We are all good at something, and when we recognize what we are good at, we can excel. Everything is going to excel around us. It's not necessarily needing to be a power struggle. Dad's dad had his parents passed away now, and so there's an estate there to clean up. So not only are they actually making money, because mom has her horses and everybody's got their thing. So they're making money, but we also have income that we can look at and say, okay, this is just a one-time income. We're not going to have this money again. This is just inheritance. And so how do we put that into a policy over a period of time so that we don't have to pay that premium forever? And there are, ways that we can do that. How it's going to look for them yet, I'm not quite sure. But if you have inheritance, you don't have to pay premium for the rest of your life. There are ways we can move it into a 10 pay policy, meaning you only pay for 10 years. A 20 pay, we only pay for 20 years. Can we set it up that you do pay your whole life, but we make it really small going forward? Do we move it in over 15 years? Everybody is different how they want that money moved over. I've done it many different ways, but when we have inheritance or we have a large sum of money coming in, a lot of times as well, is it could be a sale of a business, it could be oil minerals that, if you have an oil well, you have surface damages, you have all those one-time upfront payments. And so we know we're not going to have that consecutively all the time. So we talked about that. Then I had another gal that is 32, great job, single. Due to the whole COVID thing, she was really smart, actually, and sold her house. Housing market's going crazy. She sold her house, moved in with her mom until everything kind of stabilizes, and she's traveling again. And because she's not traveling, there's no point in having a house payment when she knows she's most likely going to have to be relocating anyway. Very smart of her. She is, she would like to have a farm at some point, but right now she's just looking at a different avenue of putting her money outside of the non-tradition. I'm going to call it non-traditional IRAs, 401ks, and all that good stuff. And why do I call it non-traditional? Because of the fact that IRAs and 401ks are only 46 years old. They started in 74. People did not use this system prior to 1974. This is not traditional, my friends. Not traditional. This is just a new way of doing things, and we're all the guinea pigs. It's not working. It's absolutely not working. So why are we putting our money there, giving up liquidity, all those good things? Look at our pensions. Oh my heavens. The bill that passed at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 nights ago, has a ton of money in there to save failing pensions. Why are pensions failing? Because they were put in the stock market. Why didn't pensions fail prior? Because they were put in annuities, which is a guaranteed product, right? It was a guaranteed product back then. Now you can have variable annuities, which are basically just putting your money in the stock market. And they are not the answer either. So I'm a little sidetracked on a tangent this morning. But a lot of that stuff is talked about in my Life Without the Bank book. I have a whole section on the market scam, and I have numbers in there with calculators to show why that's probably not going to be our best option. For those of you that don't have either one of these books, I'll talk about this one in a sec, but if you don't have those, you can go to withoutthebank.com and grab those. We're having a few problems on my other website, so go to withoutthebank.com and you can grab those books. Super excited for this young lady because of the fact that it's just her. Just like any of my young single people, stick as much money as we can in now before we're married and have kids and all these expenses and responsibility. Morning, Mike. Well, good morning, Dan. Okay, next one. This was actually really exciting because a lot of people say, how do I get started farming? And you just have to find really good people. And I see this a lot more than one would think. This particular couple, first generation farmers, he did not grow up on a farm, his family did not farm, but he worked for the neighbor guy in high school, and the neighbor guy didn't have any children. So I had a guy like this last week. He worked for the neighbor, he worked his butt off, and so he and the neighbor are 50% partners, and the neighbor has transitioned some of the land, not all of it, some of the land into the partnership. He is paying all the expenses. The neighbor guy is not paying the expenses, and he's not getting everything. So he's having to buy some stuff. Some stuff is going to be transitioned to him, like the farmstead and stuff, if I recall correctly, is going to be transitioned to him. And then the nieces and nephews are going to get stuff as well. But the neighbor guy really is treating him like his son. So a lot of people say, well, I can't get started. You can get started. I mean, there are multiple ways to get started. I have people doing it all the time. This is just one of them. It's a little more rare because you really need to find somebody that sees the value of helping. And this was sort of the theme this week. I had 3 of them asking similar questions. This was the answer to some of those questions is, do we have a neighbor or somebody that doesn't have family? And guess what? This happens not because these people expect to take over their operation and come in like vultures and are like, ooh, you don't have any kids, I'm going to take over, right? No, this is somebody working for a neighbor, working his butt off with no expectations. And he said it was not always roses. Guy last week said the same thing. They've had their struggles. He basically worked for nothing for years. But because he loved it and there was dedication there, the landowner saw that. But we also have to understand that the landowner's eyes were open to that. Not every landowner is going to treat it that way. And it's just awesome that we have good people out there giving these young people opportunity. But the thing here is he had a lot of loans because he's carrying all the debt. He's making money, but he has a lot of loans. And he's got a lot of stuff that is going to be paid off in 2 and 3 years. And I said, well, what are you going to do with those payments? Are you going to buy new stuff? Well, yeah, we almost need it. Do you need it? Do you need it? Or do you want it because you think you have to have new stuff? We have a line of credit. I think we had 9 loans. Now, great, we're making money, but what happens if we continue to have bad years? Why are we putting ourselves in that situation? What is it going to cost to repair that equipment and hire somebody to do that versus buying new equipment and having a $30,000 payment every year? Huge difference. Huge difference. So great that we started. Not so sure that we learned exactly the money management and the mindset that we need to have to get ourselves out of debt. I talk about this all the time in my meetings. We cannot continue to make John Deere and Case IH and the bank wealthy. Those are the 3 people that are taking all the money because we have this mindset that we should constantly be buying new stuff. Should we constantly be buying new stuff? Do we need to have it? As much as you try to explain it to me, do we need to have it? Is it costing us money to keep it outside of its warranty period? Only you can answer that. I have proof with one of my other clients, well, 2 of my other clients this week, which I'm just going to jump there. They're down further on my list, but I'm going to jump there. Because I have a 33-year-old farmer who needs $428,000 to operate, and he does not borrow a penny. Not a penny. He has no loans. He doesn't have any new equipment. I specifically asked him, how did you get to the position of where you are not borrowing anything? And he is farming with dad. He has his own corporation and he is renting dad's ground. Okay? But he doesn't have any equipment loans. And he said, I don't buy new stuff. So in exchange for the payment that he would have on an equipment loan, what's he doing? Using that to operate. So he's got like $415,000 in his business checking account. That's what he's going to use to operate. Why are we constantly buying equipment? Yes, my guys that have equipment payments make money too, but they also have a line of credit. My guys that don't have a line of credit typically don't have equipment payments. Or they might have some equipment payments but not a line of credit, right? So we don't always have to have both, but majority of people I talk to have both. Nelson and myself. Nelson, the founder of the concept, Becoming Your Own Banker, talks about Parkinson's Law. I talk about Parkinson's Law. Our needs rise to meet our income. A luxury once enjoyed becomes a necessity. Okay? What does that mean? That means if we have one new tractor, we think we need a new one all the time. It means if we have a brand new vehicle once, we think we need one every time the warranty runs out. Nelson says in his book, and he is correct, that if we can beat Parkinson's Law, we will always be ahead of our peers. Do we need all those things? Or can we have something new, pay it off, and keep it, take that payment and redirect it to create our own pool of money that we are borrowing from and paying back, and implement the infinite banking concept in that process? Can we do that? 33 years old, $428,000, and no equipment loans. He had 2 tiny loans. How do you do it? By sacrificing new stuff, not having to look as good as the neighbor. He, and I have another guy who asked the very same questions that everybody wants the answer to. And it was funny that I had 2 in a row. Mary Jo, I want to know how I can buy land. Everybody's buying it up. We got oil guys coming in and paying more per acre. We have investors coming in and paying more per acre. How do I buy land? You find that good neighbor, and they're hard to find. Because why? They can't be greedy. They can't be the neighbor that says, I'm going to sell to whoever gives me the highest bid. Instead, it has to be that neighbor that says, I want this land to stay in farm ground, and I want to give a young person an opportunity to farm. So I'm going to sell it to them and take a bit of a loss. Now, I did the numbers yesterday. If these neighbors who are selling, or if you have a neighbor, so in this particular example, for the 33-year-old, the neighbor whose land they were renting passed away. The 60-year-old or 55-year-old kid now inherited the land. He doesn't want to farm it. He's willing to sell it. But he inherited it. He doesn't owe anything on it. It's paid for. So why would he just sell it? Right? Why make my client go to the bank and get a loan? Why not owner finance it? So the guy I talked to yesterday said, well, oil people will come in and give you 1.5 times what it should be. And I said, okay, so what if the guy that inherited it sold it to you and charged you interest and you just make payments to him? Guess what? He doubles his money. He got more than 1.5 times. He doubles his money. He can pay taxes on that and still come out with the same amount of money. If you have landowners, or if you are a landowner and you have land to sell, think about it. You are sending them to the bank so the bank can make the interest. If there's no money owed on that land and you've already been renting it to somebody forever, why not allow them to buy it from you and you get to make the interest? Well, I'm going to have to pay capital gains. Okay, then lower the principal, increase the interest, you make the same amount of money, pay less taxes, and it's better for the person buying it. What if you do a rent-to-own type thing? Now it's all rental income to you, and it's all an expense to the person buying it. There are tons of ways to do this without having to give it to the highest bidder. Because frankly, that gets my goat. Why? Because all I've been hearing is that the Chinese are buying all our land. Bill Gates is buying all the land. Who's selling it, people? Who is selling it? Can you really blame all these people buying it when our farmers are handing over land to the highest bidder and not doing any due diligence, not wanting to help that younger generation? We're blaming the wrong people. Find those good neighbors and try to explain it to them. If you can't, you tried. But go in there with facts and have it all laid out. Just like another client I had yesterday, exact same thing. Younger guy that said, I'm farming with dad, but guess what? Dad's family's land was in an LLC. The last one passed away. Grandpa, grandma, whoever it was passed away. So now the LLC has 9 children that own undivided interest. 9 of them. Dad wants to farm, so we have 8 of them that all want to sell their portion of the LLC. So now Dad can't afford to buy it all. The son went in and said, hey, I would love to buy it. This is what I've been giving you for cash rent. This is what we've been giving you for cash rent. I'll give you a little more than that, and we can do for sale, like not necessarily for sale by owner, rent to own type thing is what he was suggesting to them. Well, a couple of them don't necessarily want to sell right away. Some of them do. So we had to brainstorm again because we have family now that doesn't even care. They don't understand. Like, the land is free. Continue to charge him. You get a guaranteed pension. I call it a guaranteed pension. You have guaranteed income. It's basically a pension for you the rest of your life. There are many ways to try to purchase that land. It's going to take an attorney. It's going to take some meetings. But you could double your money just because of interest. Nelson talks about the volume of interest. Nobody wants to pay interest to the bank because it makes our mortgage twice the amount of money. It's the same thing with the land, except you get it, right? The landowner gets it. So we had to try to figure out ways for him to go to the family and say, this is what we could do to try to save it. These are some options and some strategies. And one being, okay, if 3 want to sell or if 3 want to keep it, can the LLC refinance the land and buy out the ones that want to sell, and the other ones, then we're buying it from the LLC. We're not buying it from each one individually, or we're not buying their interest out individually. So now the LLC has a loan against it, but he's paying the loan. So what does it matter? They can charge him rent for it, whatever. Lots of ways. There's lots of ways to do it, but we have to think outside the norm. Because who's not thinking outside the norm? The accountant, the financial advisors, and the bankers. They're not. And the estate planners. First of all, the banker doesn't want you to sell it for sale by owner because that's going to hurt him. Estate planners are doing the same thing over and over and over. Who puts land undivided in an LLC and thinks that's going to be a good decision when we have 8 children? Not a good idea. But we have to find those good neighbors. You've built relationships with these people. Many times we're renting land 30, 40 years from the same family. If we have somebody there's no children, they're farming on their own, can we build that relationship without an agenda? If you truly want to farm, you will work for them. And it's not going to be a problem, right? Because you want to farm. You're going to be able to help. You're going to do whatever it is you need to do. Okay. Let's see. Hey, Brian. Jeff, you are right. Absolutely. Jeff says non-farm income is critical in startup farms. It absolutely is. You're going to have to sacrifice. I have had people tell me, well, I shouldn't have to work off the farm. Who in God's green earth told you that you should not have to work off the farm? No. What? What? Why? Yes, if you have to work off the farm, you have to work off the farm. And then you have to beat Parkinson's law with the off the farm income so you have the money to build the operation. We have to have income coming from somewhere, right? I didn't get to just start my business without having prior income. Like, I didn't just wake up one day and be like, oh, okay, well, I don't have anything, so I'm just going to try this and see how it goes. No. I actually had 2 or 3 things going right away in the beginning, so I had enough income to work. Every business owner does. Farming is no exception to that rule. Morning, Andy. Let's see. Okay, I have another guy farming with his brother-in-law. Brother-in-law is going to want to be bought out of cattle. Another situation where he's the husband and wife. It's actually the wife's family's farm. She is the youngest of 9. Another big family. That's another thing I had in common this week. People with a lot of kids. She is the youngest of 9. So estate planning really hasn't been done. They're starting to do some estate planning. But they're going to have to figure out how are they going to buy out the brother, because he is about 10 years older than her. So how are we going to buy out the brother at some point? And if he passes away, do we have to buy out his wife? There's no insurance on each other there. And apparently the brother can be quite stubborn. Will there be insurance there? I don't know. If there's not, that is a hairy situation in my opinion. Just because the 2 of them are going to have 6 other siblings to deal with when all of this is done. The one thing that is good is they are buying mom and dad's farmstead now. While mom and dad are still alive, they're buying that. At least they're not going to lose the farmstead portion of it. They will have the cattle portion of it. The land, no idea. If I recall correctly, they are buying some of their own land. In situations like this, my best advice, do not wait for mom and dad's stuff. Well, in any situation. Do not wait for mom and dad's stuff. If you have the ability to rent some of your own ground, to purchase some of your own ground, do that. I don't care if it's only 120 acres, right? And I'm talking like these people are in big farm acre country. Like we are up here. It's not like 120 acres is peanuts up here. 120 acres in the south is a massive farm. So whatever is relative to your operation. If you're in the south, if you have to buy 10 acres, buy the 10 acres and get started on your own without having to hope and pray that you're going to get something from the family if there is no estate plan in place. I've heard a lot in the last week about, oh, they had a will. Oh, they had a will, we're fine. A will does not mean that it's going to skip probate. We have to do more planning than a will if we don't want everything to go back to probate. With the tax changes now on step-up basis and inheritance tax, we really have to make sure that we've got the planning in place because every administration changes it. If we have a new administration in 4 years, that could change back to where it was. We have no idea. So we have to make sure that we are planning correctly, which might mean going to an attorney. Make sure that attorney understands what they're doing. I just heard about one last week, all done through an attorney, and it was completely wrong. Completely wrong. And now it's all in probate and the family's fighting over it. Get an attorney that knows what they're doing. You're going to have to, unfortunately, do a little bit of due diligence if that is the case, because we don't always know which attorneys are good. Now, there are attorneys that I recommend, but attorneys aren't like me. They can't just work all over the country. They have to have their bar, they have to take the bar license, or whatever it's called. Not an attorney. But they have to take a test in every single state to get licensed in that state. And those bar exams are hard. So just make sure that you're doing your due diligence and don't just go to somebody because, that's where somebody else went. Find out whose transition was successful and go to that attorney, not the popular one that maybe isn't successful. Talk to the people that they've worked with and see how that went upon a death. Not how did it go in the meeting. No, I actually had a transition that they planned out and it worked. Those are the people that you want to talk to. Not, oh, we had a meeting and everything set up with him and we really like him. That doesn't matter. I want to know what the transition went like and all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. Let's see, I have one left. I have another guy that he has basically no debt. He has 2 really small loans. He's taking over all of Dad's stuff, taking over all of his brother's stuff. He also is not a believer of buying new paint. However, he is not marketing his grain. And so even though he's doing okay, he's struggling a little bit. And it's because he's not marketing his grain. And so I just connected him with the ARC group, who are the people that I know. And then because they were local to him, I knew one of the guys local. But I honestly don't have any affiliation with them, and I don't care who you use. You've got to market your grain. And this is the one thing that he said that I find a lot, is that he said, I don't understand hedging. I don't understand puts and calls. And guess what? I don't understand them either. And frankly, I'm kind of glad I don't have to, because he seems super confusing to me. But with that being said, I have had it explained to me enough that I can understand it. And I have had others tell me that if you find the right broker, you are going to be able to understand it, because they're going to be able, or the right guy marketing for you. You will be able to understand it. And just, again, if it's somebody that's not explaining it to you, you cannot understand it, go find somebody else that can explain it. Because if you can't just trust somebody to say, oh, well, yeah, I'm sure they know what they're doing. No. You still need to understand it's your business. As much as you don't want to have to do the paperwork, you still have to understand the basics of what's going on. If you want to buy a life insurance policy from me, you have to understand the basics of what's going on. I'm not going to sell you something if I see a blank look on your face. If you are not getting it, I'm not going to move forward. We're going to go back and I'm going to re-explain it. If you still don't get it, it may not be something for you. Because the last thing that you want to do is fail. Okay? If you don't understand it enough to kind of get started. But don't just trust that they're going to do the absolute best thing. Again, talk to other people that are marketing their grain, that have made money every year. Talk to those people. Farmers, this is another challenge that you guys have, is you want to be so darn independent that you don't talk to each other. But then you're all jealous of the next guy because he's got new paint, right? How did he get it? Does he have debt? We don't know. But if we can, I don't care if it's a guy from a whole nother county that you're not farming in. What are they doing? If none of you are marketing your grain, you need to be marketing your grain. There are a few things I see. When people have money, they're marketing grain, they don't have new paint all the time. Sometimes they do. It's pretty rare. But they probably didn't have new paint in their entire farming career, right? So pay attention to what the wealthy farmers are doing. How did they get there? Just because they have a lot of money does not mean that they're the bad guy. Instead, we should be asking, how did you do that? Instead of letting jealousy kill curiosity. How did you do that? And guess what? A lot of times, they don't have a scarcity mindset. They're totally okay sharing that information with you. That's it. That's all my clients for the week. Apparently in the morning I cover this faster. In the evening it takes me like an hour. Hi, Stasha. It's exactly right, Stasha. Most people are excited. I have lots of agents that call, or other agents within. I don't typically talk to people who aren't infinite banking practitioners because I'd be on the phone all day. However, if you are an infinite banking practitioner, if there are agents within the IBC program and they call me, I talk to them. I help them. I was helping another agent yesterday. Well, if he was too scared to ask, he would have never known what I'm doing, how we're doing it, how efficient our operation runs. He would have not known that. And I have learned over the years, because I'm not scared to ask questions. So I have learned over the years that successful people love to share. Because most people don't want to listen and are jealous. It's a very few people that actually have the curiosity to ask those questions. So if we want to make money, we need to know what's happening. We need to understand that. We can't get the guy that one of my guys I talked to this week. He's like, I'm so old I don't know how to use this technology. 54. He's 54. You are only as old as you think you are. I had a client this week that said, you know what? I'm 60 with a 38-year-old mind. You're only as old as you think you are. If you think that you're too old to learn anything new, then you're too old to learn anything new. Believe me. I love my husband, but he is like, well, I don't need to know all this technology. No, you do. You do. Because we have grandkids and we have kids that are using the technology. We have a 15-year-old. You better know how to use your phone, buddy. She's going to be texting you, Snapchatting you, like all these things we need to keep up. TikTok, right? Like I know them all because I have to. Oh. Jared, yeah, there should be a share button that you can share. That would be awesome. Thank you. My grandfather finally quit packing wagons at 85. And it's probably what kept him young, because he was active in doing things. I see lots of 80-year-old farmers, and that is one thing that the farming industry has that a lot of other industries don't have, is that farmers want to work. They love what they do. They don't ever want to stop. And so you see the 90-year-old farmers. How many 90-year-old business owners do you see? How many 90-year-old employees do you see? None, because they've been told, and they have this mindset that I need to stop working because, I'm 65. So I need to retire. And then we go downhill from there. There's no point in that. Do something. My grandpa didn't stop till he was like 85. He's 93, and he pretty much went every day till he ended up in the walker at about 92, 91. He was constantly going. If you do not have the books, go to withoutthebank.com or farmingwithoutthebank.com. We've been having some problems on farmingwithoutthebank.com purchasing books. So go to withoutthebank.com. You can get the latest, Life Without the Bank. You can get all three of them. That is what I recommend, at least one of mine and one of Nelson's. You don't necessarily need both of mine. This one is geared for non-farmers and more for business owners and employees. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to be helpful, because I have more in this one about market scam. Oh, Jared, these get downloaded and put onto YouTube. So if you want to share this with non-Facebook people, because apparently there's a lot of them now, right? A lot of people left Facebook. So if you want to share with them, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Mary Jo Irmen, and it will be on there, and you can see it there. Good morning, Heidi. Stasha, I'm such a horrible salesman, you guys. I hate salespeople, but the Life Without the Bank book, Stasha, I basically wrote Wealth Without the Bank in Wall Street. I rewrote that one and retitled it. So this book is very much like Wealth Without the Banker Wall Street. So if you already have that book, there's not going to be a lot new. I mean, it's new and it's shorter, and it's got, I've added a couple things, but this is a rewrite. I just want you to know that before you buy it. However, if this book is only $5.99 right now, plus shipping and handling for introductory price. So if you want it, now's the time to get it. And the audio also is only going to be $5.99 instead of $20. So if this is a book that you guys want, that is something to get now because of the discounted price. Yes, you're welcome. I don't want people to get it and be like, dude, it's the same book. That is not my goal. Okay, you guys, that is all that I have for the day. Thank you for tuning in this morning. I appreciate it. I'm going to try these out and see how they go mornings. I might mix it up a little bit, but with it getting so nice and the weather being so nice at night now, and this dive of a farm we bought, oh my heavens, I can't wait to weed eat this weekend, because we didn't have any snow. We need snow. We didn't have any snow, but nothing's been taken care of. So we have so much work to do. I just knew I wasn't going to get I knew I wasn't going to get my Thursday night lives in. So I'm going to try switching them to Friday mornings. Okay, you guys, have a fantastic weekend, and hopefully we will see you next week at 7:30 as well. Talk to you then.